Welcome to Epilepsy Awareness. Upon completion of this course, you will be able to identify key features of epileptic seizures and common misconceptions about epilepsy. You'll understand the etiology and risk factors for epilepsy and recognize conventional ways to help. You will ultimately be prepared to react effectively and help appropriately when you encounter someone suffering from an epileptic seizure. Let's start. Disclaimer: the content in this video is intended for general information purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.
I'm Minna, and epilepsy runs in my family. Growing up, my brother had seizures, and it was a scary experience. This made me aware of what epilepsy was at a young age and allowed me to become knowledgeable in responding to someone having a seizure. My brother's seizures were unpredictable. This required my family members and I to be prepared to respond to one of his seizures at any time in the safest way possible. This allowed me to help my brother and also jump in with instances of other people, including a stranger, having a seizure. According to the Canadian Epilepsy Alliance, about 260,000 Canadians have epilepsy. I believe it's our responsibility to be aware of epilepsy and learn how to respond to create a more equitable and safe society that can be translated to all aspects, such as workplaces. We have created this training video to help raise more awareness for epilepsy. In the next 15 minutes, we are going to introduce epilepsy and the way to help persons with epilepsy.
Module 1. What is epilepsy? Did you know that 65 million people around the world are diagnosed with epilepsy? 260,000 Canadians suffer from epilepsy, and 1 in every 3 people with epilepsy live with uncontrollable seizures because existing medication does not work for them. So, what is epilepsy?
Epilepsy is a neurological brain condition that affects the body's nervous system and can be known as a seizure disorder, where seizures seen in cases of epilepsy are caused by disturbances in the electrical activity of the brain. These seizures may be related to injury of the brain, genetics, the immune system, and however, most of the time, the cause of seizures in epilepsy is unknown. Epilepsy consists of many different symptoms and patterns, and they can be categorized into different types to better understand the parts of the brain affected. Epilepsy is categorized by 3 kinds of seizures. The first one is generalized seizures, which affect both sides of the brain or the groups of cells on both sides of the brain at the same time. The second one is focal seizures, which affect only one side of the brain's hemisphere and affects its network of brain cells. The third one is unknown seizures, which is when the beginning of a seizure is not known or an unwitnessed seizure. There are 2 categories of generalized seizures, which are motor and non-motor seizures. Generalized motor seizures cause one to lose consciousness, fall to the ground, and experience uncontrollable body movements, where the muscles will often stiffen and jerk. They may experience loss of bladder control or tongue biting. Generalized non-motor seizures cause the individual to stop what they're doing and often cause them to blank out. They may perform repeated movements over and over, such as fluttering eyelids or lip smacking. In this video, we will focus more on generalized motor seizures. For more information on all types of seizures, please visit the Epilepsy Foundation's website.
Signs and symptoms for epilepsy or seizure: temporary confusion, a staring spell, uncontrollable jerking movements of the arms and legs, loss of consciousness or awareness. Psychic symptoms such as fear, anxiety, or déjà vu.
The definition of trigger is caused to happen or exist. Being aware of seizures is important for seizure prevention. This can help manage one's epilepsy. However, triggers can be unique to an individual. Some common triggers include specific to time of day, sleep deprivation, fever, flashing lights, alcohol, drug use, stress, hormonal changes, poor diet, specific foods like caffeine, and certain medications.
Which of these is not a trigger of an epileptic seizure? Option A, flashing lights. Option B, sleep deprivation. Option C, hormonal changes. Or option D, uncontrollable laughter. The correct answer is option D, uncontrollable laughter. It is not a trigger of an epileptic seizure. Flashing lights, sleep deprivation, and hormonal changes are triggers of an epileptic seizure. What are the three types of epileptic seizures? Correct answer: number 1, focal seizures, number 2, generalized seizures, and number 3, unknown seizures. If you answered the above, you would be correct. Focal seizures affect one side of the brain, generalized seizures affect both hemispheres of the brain, and unknown seizures have an unknown initiation or are unwitnessed, such as experiencing a seizure while being alone, during your sleep, etc.
Module 2. How can I help?
Picture this. You're in a store shopping and you see someone having a seizure. Do you A. Run away, B. Just stand there and watch, like this guy, or do you know how to properly react, like this other guy? While epilepsy is extremely common, chances are you don't have the training to react appropriately to a person having epilepsy.
Now, you may know the signs and symptoms of a seizure, but how would you actually react if you witnessed somebody having a seizure? Your initial reaction may be to freeze up and ask a variety of different questions, such as,
Do I call 911?
Do I stay by their side or move further away?
Do I hold them down or shout at them?
Do I have to watch over them?
To help somebody that is having a generalized motor seizure, which may involve falling, shaking, or jerking, you should ease the person to the floor and turn them on their side, which will help them breathe, and clear the area around the person of anything hard or sharp in order to prevent injury, and put something soft and flat beneath their head like a folded jacket, and remove eyeglasses, necklaces, or any other item on their body that can potentially harm them. And lastly, loosen ties or anything around their neck that may make it hard to breathe.
Now, Karan will demonstrate how to roll an adult over properly. First, take the arm closest to you and raise it beside their head to make a right angle with the shoulder. Next, take the other arm and bring it across their chest so that their palm holds the side of the face closest to you. Then, vertically lift up the leg that is further away from you by the knee and set that foot beside their other knee. While stabilizing the elbow, slowly and gently roll the person over by pulling at the knee that you lifted. Finally, double check to make sure their head and neck are straight. Now that you've properly positioned the person having a seizure on their side so that they can breathe better, these are the general steps that you should follow regardless of the type of seizure.
Make sure that you time the seizure if you can, and keep yourself and others around you calm. And make sure to stay by that person's side because they tend to be confused and tired when the seizure ends. And after it ends, guide the person to sit in a safe place. And once the individual is alert and able to communicate, tell them what happened in simple terms, speaking calmly and comforting them as you do so. And check to see if that person is wearing a medical bracelet or other emergency information. Then make sure the person is stable enough to go on with their day, or if not, send them home.
Here are the things that you should avoid doing. Number 1, do not panic. Number 2, don't hold the person down or try to stop their movements. Number 3, do not put anything in the person's mouth. This can injure teeth or the jaw. A person having a seizure cannot swallow. Number 4, do not try to give mouth-to-mouth breaths, like CPR. People usually start breathing again on their own after a seizure. Number 5, do not offer the person water or food until they are fully alert. Number 6, do not try to move them unless they are in a dangerous position. Overall, you need to look out for the same things regardless of the type of seizure. Do not put anything in their mouth, don't try to move the person, and do not try to perform CPR.
Most of the time, seizures do not require medical intervention. Only call 911 if one or more of these is true. The person has never had a seizure before. The person has difficulty breathing or waking up after the seizure seizure lasts longer than 5 minutes. The person has another seizure immediately after the first one. The person is hurt during the seizure. The person has a high fever or is experiencing heat exhaustion. The person is injured during the seizure happens in water, or the person has a health condition like diabetes, or the person is pregnant. However, whenever you are in doubt, just call 911 because it's better to be safe than sorry.
A question to check what all of us have learned. When should you call 911 for a seizure? Option A, the seizure lasts longer than 5 minutes. Option B, someone stole your parking spot. Option C, the individual experiencing a seizure is pregnant. Option D, both option A and C. Option E, none of the above. The answer is option D, which is both option A and C. You should call 911 for a seizure when the seizure lasts longer than 5 minutes and if the individual experiencing a seizure is pregnant. Question 2. See the image given on your right. What is wrong with this reaction to a seizure? If you answered any or all of the following, you would be correct. The reaction in this image failed to, firstly, clear the area around, secondly, turn the person onto their side, and lastly, ensure that everybody stays calm and collected. The reaction in this video should not, firstly, hold the person down, secondly, try to move the person.
Module 3. Breaking Ignorance.
In my first year of university, I took on a part-time job in an electronics store to save up money. In the store, we had a display for Bluetooth speakers that was constantly emitting flashing lights, sort of like a disco ball. I did not think much of it until one day a customer approached me and expressed her concern. She said, "A relative of mine has epilepsy. A display like that is insensitive and can cause them to have a seizure." I thought, fair enough. I am very familiar with seizure warnings as I am an avid gamer and I like to go to the movies and watch flashy music videos. However, this was the first time that this was brought up to me in real life. So naturally, I went to the back room to ask my manager about that, and I told him that, this is what the customer is saying, and I think she's onto something. And he just looked at me and he went, "Well, people with epilepsy shouldn't be out there shopping." I was shocked and more so confused as I realized that there were no resources provided by my employer that could help me create a better environment for that customer. Essentially, I was on my own.
This is an example of discriminatory ignorance towards persons with epilepsy. Discrimination against persons with epilepsy in the workplace should never be tolerated. Examples of discrimination that should never be tolerated include not accommodating as an employer with epilepsy, not hiring someone with epilepsy, firing someone because of their epilepsy, and harassment, bullying, or violence against someone with epilepsy.
According to the Ontario Human Rights Commission, everyone has a right to equal treatment in the workplace without discrimination because of disability. They also have the right to dignity, privacy, and full participation.
Fostering an inclusive environment. All individuals, including those with disabilities, must have equal opportunities. How inclusive a community is in helping people with epilepsy determines these opportunities for them. According to CDC, communities can promote the health, well-being, and social participation of people with epilepsy. To achieve this, communities can, first, assess and promote community health inclusion. For people with disabilities, this can include having access to transportation, employment opportunities, and social support. Second, address epilepsy in schools. Schools and school groups, such as parent-teacher organizations or school wellness committees, can support students with chronic conditions to be healthy and ready to learn by raising awareness about epilepsy, to rid them of misconceptions and ignorance around it. As well, measures should be taken to eliminate potential triggers of epilepsy, such as flashing lights in video presentations. Third, create supportive work environments. Employers can use resources such as Epilepsy Ontario to learn how to provide a supportive work environment for employees with epilepsy. Customers with epilepsy would benefit from a supportive shopping environment, both online and in person. Visit Epilepsy Ontario at epilepsyontario.org for more information. And finally, communities can train professionals and community members in epilepsy awareness. Epilepsy awareness and mental health first aid training are evidence-based programs that can help people recognize health crises and learn how to connect a person to healthcare.
True or false? According to the Ontario Human Rights Commission, you will only be accommodated if you have a visible disability. This is false. According to the Ontario Human Rights Commission, everyone has a right to equal treatment in the workplace without discrimination because of disability. They also have the right to dignity, privacy, and full participation. It is unacceptable to disregard invisible disabilities, as Rima conveyed in her anecdote.
Time to wrap it up.
Congratulations on completing our epilepsy awareness training module.
You are now equipped with the knowledge of what a seizure is, how to identify a seizure, and how to respond to help someone suffering a seizure.
Oftentimes, paramedics arrive post-seizure, so it is essential that we act immediately to prevent any harm or injury.
On the second Monday of February, we were purple.
Help raise epilepsy awareness today. Be a leader in helping to foster a more inclusive environment for persons with epilepsy in your community.
You have the power to make a difference. Now is your time.